The Pilgrim Fathers Story, America's First Struggle and the Origin of Thanksgiving.
But before we start, please support us by pressing like and subscribe buttons. Also turn on the bell notification to get the latest updates. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you.
In the early 17th century, a small group of English men and women, known today as the Pilgrim Fathers, embarked on a journey that would shape the foundation of a new nation. Their story, one of courage, faith, and survival, began in pursuit of religious freedom and culminated in a feast of gratitude that would become the enduring American holiday of Thanksgiving. But before celebration came hardship, and before peace came the struggle for survival, the quest for freedom. The Pilgrims were part of a larger movement of separatists who had broken away from the Church of England. They faced religious persecution in their homeland, where their refusal to conform to state-imposed worship made them targets of oppression. Seeking a place where they could freely practice their faith, a group of them first fled to the more tolerant Netherlands. Yet life in Leiden proved challenging. While they enjoyed religious freedom, they struggled economically and feared their children were losing their English identity. With renewed determination, they made a bold decision to cross the Atlantic Ocean and establish a new community in the Americas, where they could live by their values and beliefs. This would be no small feat. The journey was perilous, and the land unknown, but their resolve was unshaken. The voyage of the Mayflower on September 6, 1620, a battered merchant ship named the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England. It carried 102 passengers, men, women, and children, along with about 30 crew members. The voyage was grueling. Storms battered the ship, causing delays and illnesses. The cramped, damp quarters offered little comfort, and many were seasick for most of the journey. After more than 2 months at sea, on November 11th, they spotted land. It was not the fertile Virginia colony they had aimed for, but the cold, rocky coast of present-day Massachusetts. Harsh weather and dangerous shoals made it impossible to continue south, so they dropped anchor at Cape Cod. Recognizing the need for order and unity, the men aboard signed the Mayflower Compact, an early form of self-governance that pledged loyalty to the crown, but allowed for just and equal laws created by the group for the good of the colony. This compact laid a cornerstone for democratic principles in America, the birth of Plymouth Colony. In December 1620, the Pilgrims finally settled at a place they named Plymouth, after the port they had left in England. It was winter, and the conditions were brutal. Food was scarce, and shelter was non-existent. The Pilgrims had to construct homes from scratch in freezing temperatures. Exposure, disease, and malnutrition took a severe toll. By the end of that first winter, nearly half of the original settlers had died. Their dreams of freedom were now entangled with the desperate struggle to simply stay alive. But amid despair came unexpected hope. The Native American encounter in March 1621. A remarkable figure stepped into their midst. Samoset, an Abenaki chief, who surprised the settlers by greeting them in English. He had learned some of the language through contact with English fishermen along the coast. Through Samoset, the Pilgrims met Squanto, a member of the Patuxet tribe who would become instrumental in their survival. Squanto had an extraordinary past. Years earlier, he had been captured by English explorers and taken to Europe, where he learned English before eventually returning home, only to find his tribe decimated by disease. Despite his tragic history, he chose to help the struggling newcomers. He taught them how to cultivate corn, where to fish, and how to extract sap from maple trees. His knowledge was vital in transforming the fragile colony into a sustainable community. Through Squanto, the Pilgrims formed an alliance with the Wampanoag Confederacy, led by Chief Massasoit. A peace treaty was established in the spring of 1621, fostering a cooperative relationship that lasted for over 50 years. This alliance ensured mutual protection and trade, and it was one of the few early examples of relatively peaceful coexistence between European settlers and Native Americans. The first harvest and Thanksgiving, with the guidance of the Wampanoag, and a more temperate season, the Pilgrims' fortunes improved. That autumn, they harvested a modest but sufficient crop. They had endured suffering, loss, and uncertainty, yet they had survived. In celebration, Governor William Bradford declared a feast, a 3-day gathering of gratitude. The first Thanksgiving, held in November 1621, was not the formal holiday as we know it today, but rather a harvest festival rooted in both English and native traditions. The Wampanoag were invited as honored guests, and Massasoit himself arrived with 90 of his men, bringing food to share. Together, the Pilgrims and Native Americans feasted on venison, wild fowl, including turkey, corn, squash, beans, and seafood. There were games, musket displays, and contests of strength. More than a celebration, it was a moment of peace and unity, a shared acknowledgement of endurance and cooperation in the face of adversity. While no one at the time could have imagined its lasting legacy, that communal meal would echo through the centuries as a symbol of gratitude and fellowship. The harsh realities that followed. Despite the harmony of that first Thanksgiving, the years that followed were not free from hardship or conflict. The alliance with the Wampanoag would eventually erode due to increasing European expansion, cultural clashes, and broken promises. As more settlers arrived, land became a source of contention, and tensions escalated. Within a generation, hostilities erupted in what would become King Philip's War, 1675-1676, one of the deadliest conflicts in colonial America, named after Massasoit's son Metacomet, called King Philip by the English. The war devastated native communities and shattered the fragile peace once upheld by the early treaties. The Pilgrims' legacy, therefore, is one of both inspiration and caution. Their quest for religious freedom and their endurance in the face of unimaginable odds speak to the human spirit's capacity for hope. Yet their story also marks the beginning of a complex and often painful history between settlers and the indigenous peoples of North America. Thanksgiving, through the ages, the story of the Pilgrims and that first Thanksgiving continued to resonate throughout American history. In the 19th century, amidst the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed Thanksgiving a national holiday in 1863, seeking to unite a divided nation under the banner of gratitude. Over time, the holiday evolved, shaped by myth, tradition, and idealism. The image of the Pilgrims and Native Americans sharing a peaceful meal became a powerful symbol of unity, though it often glossed over the more difficult truths that followed. Today, Thanksgiving remains a time for gathering, reflection, and giving thanks. For many, it is a celebration of family and resilience. For others, especially Native Americans, it is a day of mourning, a reminder of lost lands, broken promises, and a cultural legacy often overlooked. In recent decades, efforts have been made to tell a fuller, more honest story of Thanksgiving, one that honors both triumph and tragedy. Legacy of the Pilgrim Fathers. The Pilgrim Fathers' journey across the Atlantic was more than a migration. It was an act of profound faith and vision. Their commitment to their beliefs laid the groundwork for ideas of religious liberty and self-governance that would later be enshrined in American ideals. The Mayflower Compact, the alliance with the Wampanoag, and the endurance of that first winter are all chapters in a broader story about freedom, community, and the costs of nation building.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like videos like this. Thank you.